And I'm going to call the meeting to order. It is 5:06 p.m. This is the March 23rd, 2022 meeting of the Climate Smart Kingston Commission. Welcome, everyone. My name is Julie Noble, and I am the Environmental Education and Sustainability Coordinator and the Climate Smart Community Coordinator and Chair of this commission. Today with us, we have voting commissioners Kevin McAvoy, Melissa Iachetta, Betta Broad, Roberto Rivera, Dan Smith, and Karen Sullivan. We have non-voting members, Common Council member Carl Frankel, Ellie Gartenstein, and myself. And it looks like we have two guests on our attendees, Carolyn and Dwayne. Welcome. At this time, would either of you like to make any public comment? If so, you can raise your hand and I will let you speak. Okay, not seeing anything. Thank you for being here. Feel free to type anything in chat throughout the meeting, or if you have questions, or raise your hand and we certainly can acknowledge that you're would like to speak. So do I have any modifications to the agenda? Okay, not seeing or hearing any. We'll move on to review and approval of the February 2022 meeting minutes. Does anyone have any comments, questions, concerns, or changes to those minutes? Not hearing any. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
Motion to accept.
Okay, by Betta.
Motion to accept.
I'll take this. That is a second from Roberto. All in favor? Okay, I saw hands from the three that I can see.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
great. I got Melissa, I got Roberto, Betta.
Yes. Aye.
Yep, I got you,
Julie.
Roberto. I got you.
You got?
I got
Yes.
you. Betta, are you? Can I get a hands up or a yay or a thumbs up or a vote of some sort? All right, no answer is going to be assumed. It is taken as a yes. All right, so those are approved unanimously. Thank you, Kevin, for putting those together. Before we go into business, I do want to just talk about the meeting format. So we are meeting virtually, obviously, today. In the last 2 weeks, the governor, actually last week, was the executive order extending the open meetings law to permit hybrid or virtual meetings was extended at the last minute. About an hour or so prior to that happening, the mayor sent out a note that said, there's no extension. That means everyone effective immediately needs to be meeting in person. And also projecting everything to live stream. Then the governor came out with extension of the executive order. I'm not sure, none of us are sure how long that's going to continue to go on for. And so the mayor would like us to shift to in-person meetings. I didn't do that for this meeting for a couple of reasons. One, it was less than a week's notice and I didn't know if everyone was going to even be around. And two, tonight, the room that we would need, which is conference room 1, was actually taken by another meeting, public safety, and conference room 2 is not currently set up for the IT needs that are required, and the common council chambers are also not set up because they're under construction. So that being said, I probably should have thought of what I was going to say next before I started talking, because I'm not actually sure what we're going to do next month if public safety meets at the same time. So between now and next month, I'm going to find a place for us to have a meeting. You should assume that from now on, our meetings will be in person.
Great.
I my understanding is that we can also be remote if we so choose, but I will be in person. So what I'm actually trying to understand from you all is, should we have meetings in person moving forward, which we will, how many folks can feel with certainty that being in person is not something that you're up for? Is there anyone that feels as though they will continue to be remote if we're meeting in person? Okay.
I'd like to comment, Julie. A lot is contingent about what happens with the new Omicron variant.
Right.
My wife is immunocompromised, and if it comes back, like there was 11% positivity rate in Ulster County yesterday, which is like up by 10%. So if that everything is contingent on how that flows, but I have to be cautious. So, and since I'm not a voting member, honestly, I'd rather do it by Zoom. It's much more convenient for me than trucking down to City Hall.
Understood. Okay, so unless I recognize your hand there. I am going to keep everyone posted as far as I know, all the information that I have. Right now, we are getting a directive that basically we're not choosing which we want to do. We're getting the directive that says we should be meeting in person moving forward, and that we should have the remote option. So that means you all could be remote if you wanted to. And I would just be there in a room by myself, which is whatever, it is what it is. That being said, right now, since the executive order was extended, if you are remote, and I have no judgment whatsoever, if you want to be in person, fine. If you want to be remote, fine. If you want to be in person with a mask, that's fine. If you want to be in person without a mask, that's fine. Masks are not required right now in City Hall. Right now, if things don't change and the executive order stays, you wouldn't need to necessarily let me know ahead of time. The agenda would all be the same. I would have to set the meeting. I would welcome everyone at the in-person meeting, and we would have the link to Zoom as well. You would all be able to see what's going on and interact, and it would be live streamed. If the executive order, if or when the executive order ends, if we continue to do hybrid, that means that I will need to know a week in advance or 10 days in advance those folks that will not be in attendance at the meeting in person, and you will need to have the address that you will be meeting from printed on the agenda. So that means that I will put out the agenda 10 days in advance, and you will need to say to me, I'm not going to be there, I'm going to be at 101 Wilson Ave. And people are able to look at the agenda or where we're going to be. You're not going to be at my house. But you can be if you want to. They can look at the agenda, and per the open meetings law, they could go to that location that you've printed on the agenda to witness you being part of the meeting. So again, to repeat, as of right now, we are going to move forward as though our next meeting is in person with remote option, and we do not need to at this time print people's locations. If you are going to be remote for the next meeting, I would just like you to give me a heads up so I know how many people to wait for in person or whatever. But I will keep you all posted, and for now, we are all here. So good to see all of you. Does anyone have questions about any of this? All right. So moving on to old business. Any update on refrigerants?
I don't have any updates on that. I feel probably meeting to meeting now we're probably covering the same ground. I think where we left off last time was we were waiting for the grant opportunities, Climate Smart Communities, DEC opportunities to drop and to reply to them, or to apply to them in order to sort of outsource that brain power.
Yeah, this I feel like this is around the time where they have announced them in the past, but I haven't seen anything yet. Mine is not here.
It should be soon if it lines up with the New York Consolidated Funding application cycle. the CFA, which is they're usually due. That deadline's usually in July.
July 20, the end
So
of,
they
the end of
have to be
July. Yeah.
announcing it fairly soon within the next
Yep.
4 to 8 weeks, I would hope. Knowing that the past 2 years, the whole cycle's been thrown off by the pandemic.
Right. Okay, so I would say that what we should do, it's making the sort of assumption that before our next climate smart meeting, it would be likely that the announcement would come out, is that when one of us sees the announcement come out, we share that and then set a subcommittee meeting to discuss the plan.
That's
If that
fair.
happens all in advance of our next climate smart meeting. Does that seem reasonable? Just to refrigerants team people? Okay. Great. Does anyone else have other things you want to contribute about refrigerants? Okay. City sustainability projects that don't fall into some other thing. The only update I'm going to give right now here is about the community preservation plan. As I mentioned in the past, I'm going to give an update at these meetings about that project moving forward. Since our last meeting, I think I've been giving you folks an update on what the progress is. We have secured the consultant, which is BN Planning and Design. They are the same consultant that did the open space plan for the city of Kingston. So there'll be a smooth transition. We did decide, however, in the last month that the timeline that we had planned to proceed on for the community preservation plan, we are going to modify. So the community preservation plan is a plan that the city does to prioritize parcels for open space and historic preservation and cultural preservation. And it's typical that from that plan, the next step is a community preservation fund, which is put on the ballot for a referendum for the municipality, for the community to vote on what to do, or to set up establish a fund to fund this preservation effort. We had originally intended to move forward to look to get that on the ballot for this year, and have made the decision that our timeline for that is too short in order for us to, since we haven't even started the plan yet, in order to do the diligence that we need for our community preservation plan with substantial amount of community outreach that is necessary and research that is necessary for our community to do this. So we are moving forward with the plan. We are in contract with BN Planning, and we actually just had our internal kickoff meeting on Monday or Tuesday, yesterday. And I am forming the project advisory committee, which will probably meet in the end of April. And then we'll have our kickoff public meeting likely in May. And then we will begin with surveying the community about prioritization, speaking with the project advisory committee about the prioritization, understanding the community's feel on, what we value, what the community values in terms of preservation, of open space, about farmland, about historic resources, things like that. And then that prioritization will create a matrix that will basically take the prioritization information that was gathered, and we're going to do surveys to the community. We're going to do a mailer. We're going to do all different, one-on-one things for the spring and summer of this year. We'll put that together into a matrix. We'll develop a matrix based on that information, and we'll score each individual parcel around the city of Kingston based on that matrix. And depending on the final score of each parcel, we'll determine a ranking for each parcel for preservation. And that will be written up in the final community preservation plan. And so we are excited about this process, but it is going to not be as truncated as it originally was going to be in order to finalize a draft plan by May. Considering we just got into contract, that would have been an impossible task for us to do. That being said, there are other municipalities in Ulster County, including Gardner and Marbletown, that are moving forward to be on this year's ballot. I support them. I think it is ambitious, but I do support their processes. They have far fewer people than we have, so they have, fourth or fifth of our population. Not that that changes anything, but I just feel like we're going to take a little longer. So I will continue to give updates. And I think that this also gives other partners like the Kingston Land Trust and others a little more time to really understand what the role will be, to educate folks and to help to get on board with that process. So that is an update on the community preservation plan. I do meet monthly with a community preservation coalition, which is communities from around the state that are working on this simultaneously, along with Scenic Hudson, the Trust for Public Land. And it's been really very, very, very helpful. So I'm looking forward to moving that forward. That's my only sustainability project update. Other things that our office are working on will fall under other categories here. But any questions on the CPP?
Just one quick question, Julie. How would it be preserved? Would it be under historical landmark, or what kind of designation would it have?
So what other communities have done is create a community preservation fund. And that fund is done through a real estate transfer tax, such that when a property is transferred, the rights of a property are transferred, like a sale of a house or property, then a percentage, which would be determined by the municipality, a percentage of that sale gets set aside in a fund. So we have something similar like that right now, which is the Rec Trust Fund. If a new apartment complex is put in and they have a certain number of units, they have to set aside $3,000 per unit over 4 units that they have, and that $3,000 per unit is set aside for recreation preservation or recreation enhancement. This would be for preservation. So for open space preservation. So depending on how the parcels are ranked, that fund would be established based on the real estate transfer tax if it were approved through referendum. And that real estate transfer tax fund that was set up would then be put towards the preservation of these lands based on the community preservation plan. The plan itself does not set up any fund or anything. It just gives us the basis of the prioritization that the community is interested in. We could take the community preservation plan and just stop there. We could find other sources of funding. We could do lots of different things, but most communities move on to a community preservation fund via referendum.
Okay. For how long, Julie? Is that in perpetuity, or?
Is that in perpetuity? I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if anything's in perpetuity really, but I think it's in perpetuity. That's a really good question. Kevin, it probably is, right?
Unmute. Yeah. Yeah, I believe it would be in perpetuity. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think I understand what you're asking in terms of what perpetuity is, how it's defined, but
Yeah.
I think there'll be a document that would state it's preserved in perpetuity.
I would just note that contractually, you have to have a time limit on a contract. So I don't know if this is a contractual arrangement. If it's a contractual arrangement, in perpetuity would not be legally defensible, but I don't know if this is contractual.
It wouldn't be contractual. It would be a local law that was established by referendum.
Yeah, it'd be similar to what is done with conservation easements.
Got it. Okay. Got it. May I ask one question? This I know betrays my ignorance, but what is the prioritization of properties based on? I mean, what makes it a 1 or a 2 or a 3? Any broad sense that you can give me of what the criteria are?
That will be determined by the community. So
Or just a sense.
okay, so like
What are we looking at here?
if it's fully forward, and I'm not pigeonholing us into these, but just as examples, like
Right.
if it's fully forested, or if it has water frontage, or if it is prime fertile soils for farmland, or
Got
if it is contiguous with a huge swath of other open space, or if it is prime for park land, or if it's next to a historic property that has historic value, or if it is a historic property but it isn't on the National or Historic Register kind of thing. Like there's lots of different, I don't know, Kevin, do you want to add, do you have other examples?
I think the easiest way to explain it is prior to the open space plan, we developed a natural resource inventory. This was at the CAC. Betta was on that, Julie was on that, I was on that out of this commission. And our consultant did develop rudimentary prioritization, just the way Julie's explained. He took the 8,700 parcels in the city approximately, and he categorized them in an Excel spreadsheet that was a lot of columns and a lot of rows, 8,700 rows, and I don't know how many columns with each one of these criteria that Julie just mentioned, plus additional criteria. And Behan will likely further develop that. That would be, I think, their methodology. And they've worked on the open space plan already, so they're familiar with that spreadsheet.
Yeah, so I mean, it could be like something of a certain acreage, if it's 5 acres or more, or 2 acres or more, you know, it will depend on what the community values. Certainly there are community preservation plans in other communities that have some similar prioritization, but ours will be based on what our community values.
Yeah, thank you. That's useful. Thank you.
Yeah, so you take the values, and then you can take John Mickelson, who is the other consultant that did this spreadsheet. You can take some of his work, and then play with the Excel spreadsheet a bit, and it'll actually provide you with some of the candidate parcels for that process.
Yeah, I mean, it could have a vernal pool on it. It could have some kind of open water body. It could have, you know, endangered species that we know are there, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Okay, any other questions or comment? Oh, I see a question from Carolyn. Go ahead, Carolyn. You're able to speak, I believe.
Okay, can you hear me?
Sure can.
Okay. Given I heard what you said, and I agree that trying to get this started this May would be really rough. But what I've experienced with more recent other projects, sometimes it takes a long time for a community of this size to digest the goals of a particular project. So I was wondering whether there's a way to identify the parcels that will be involved before next May, and let the community know about it to start thinking about it.
Yeah, so what will happen once we do an entire season's worth of outreach to the community, we're going to then we're going to create this prioritization matrix that says, you know, if it has these characteristics, it gets this points. If it has these characteristics, it gets this many points. And if it has all these combined, it gets this many points, and one with the most points. That's how we create the ranking. That's going to happen with every single parcel in the city. So we're not going to call out any specific parcel. We're going to use this matrix against every parcel in the city of Kingston. And all of that will be public, you know, and this will be all in conversation with the parcel owners and the community. And again, the prioritization will be based on what the community values. And so that's why we aren't going to just sit here and say, you know, as an environmentalist, I want to do this, and we should, and make some kind of blended state. Yeah.
Yeah, it's important, and that's my point. The community, giving the community a real chance to respond, to digest. With the Complete Streets project, apparently there was a lot of discussion and a lot of disappointment in the way the community was informed, and a lot of disparity. So I hope that doesn't happen in this project, because this is another very important project for Kingston.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. We haven't put together the full outreach plan yet. So we're real early on in this. Actually, just based on our kickoff meeting with the consultant yesterday, their first task is to put together the public outreach plan. So I'll have information about that at our next meeting. And that will talk about, you know, how we're going to reach every member of the community. What are multiple ways that we're going to do that? How will people give us information? How will we get it from them? And there's going to be many different ways, both digitally and in person and in paper, all these different options so that we don't miss anyone, because everyone's opinion is valuable and it could apply to anyone's parcel. So that's why we didn't want, we need to take as much time as this possibly takes and do it the right way. So, and our consultant and we are both committed to doing that. So thanks for your input. Any other comments or questions on the community preservation plan? Okay. Then we will move on to Repair Cafe. Melissa, how are things going? Did I mute everyone? It says ask to unmute.
Okay, yeah, sorry. My Zoom is having a lot of issues. It's like blanking out the whole top where I can't press unmute. And I tried to like leave and come back, but it's not working.
Oh.
Yeah, anyways, Repair Cafe. So the whole rummage sale for a Repair Cafe coordinator is coming up. They are accepting donations, I think through the end of the first week of April. You can contact sustainhv.org to coordinate drop-offs. I sent around the flyer to the commission just on the items they're accepting for the sale. They're looking to raise money for a coordinator position. They have a small amount already raised after John's passing, and they're just looking to build on that. And the actual sale is April 22nd and 23rd from 10 to 4 and April 24th, 11 to 3 at the United Methodist Church in New Paltz. I did reach out to the Repair Cafe about doing an event at the Kingston Cafe about doing an event at the Earth Day Fair, and they're interested. So I just have to organize that, coordinate it, figure out who's going to be running it since I will not be available. If anybody on the Climate Smart is interested in running that, let me know, because I'm going to need somebody to facilitate that day. And Julie said we could set up possibly in the what was that, the pavilion area, right?
Yep.
Okay,
That's
calling
great.
it. Yay. Okay, so maybe I'll send around a flyer about it or something if I can make one. Yeah, and that's all for Repair Cafe for now.
Man, if we could have a Repair Cafe live, I would love it. That's awesome. Great. Good to know. Good to hear. Hopefully, I hope that the sale goes really well.
Me too. Me too.
What's the date? What's the date of that sale again?
The actual sale is going to be April 22nd and 23rd from 10 to 4 and April 24th, 11 to 3. So it's going to be a 3-day sale at the United Methodist Church in New Paltz.
10 to 3. Thank you.
Yeah, they're calling it a rummage sale.
Awesome. Anything else on Repair Cafe from anyone? Okay.
Is the Repair Cafe, is that associated with the Wackman Center?
With the what?
The Wackman, the center? What is it? The Wackman Center? The person that died and had the center? The person that died was
John
Wackman, right?
Wackman. Yep.
And there's a Wackman Center, right? There's a proposal now. For a
Yeah,
Wackman.
so that's for his honor. Manager Green is spearheading that. I think with a few people. Yeah, they want to make like a zero waste center of sorts, but I think it's still in the planning phases.
They
But yeah, that's in his honor.
Yeah.
He was a commissioner on the Climate Smart Kingston Commission, and he founded the Repair Cafe Hudson Valley movement. It's actually a national movement. And yeah, so he started it in the Hudson Valley and got a bunch of towns to participate from Peekskill all the way up to Albany. And so, yeah, I facilitate the Kingston one, but if you go to repaircafe.hudsonvalley.org, there are ones all over Hudson Valley, and there's a calendar and more info. But yeah, this is a sale to raise money to hire a new person, because he was doing it, volunteer basis with his own free time. But the effort that it's taking to do that is really, we need to pay someone to do it, because it's a lot of work.
Right.
But
It is my understanding that they just got a $75,000 feasibility, funded for $75,000 for feasibility study.
for the center,
Yes, for the center.
okay, it's exciting.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Okay, great. So anything else on Repair Cafe? All right, so moving on to outreach and education and youth engagement.
So I just wanted to give some bike-friendly updates. Bike-friendly Kingston, they're having a repair clinic March 26th from 11 to 2. It's their first spring event. They have an adult safety class April 1st and 2nd, and they have a youth program April 23rd through June 11th. You can email tpolk@ymcaulster.org for more info. They sent around a link and I was going to forward it, but if you click it, it says the page cannot be found. So I'm not sure how you register for those adult safety and youth programs, but somewhere on the YMCA website, there's a link for them. And let's see. Wanting to give an update about the solar mapping cohort project. So we did our first session last week. There's 27 municipalities participating in 8 counties across the Hudson Valley. So it's very exciting. We got a lot more people this time around. And yeah, we're basically guiding people through Scenic Hudson solar mapping tool called How to Solar Now. And basically having people become active participants rather than passive in the solar process. So if a solar developer comes into their town and wants to do a project, they can see if they actually want it there and what it may impact, whether it be soils or local species or historic sites. But yeah, so that's the update. Other update, I just want to ask, what are we doing for Earth Day? And are we going to table Saturday, April 23rd at the farmer's market? Because I was looking at the calendar and we would need to decide something this meeting if we wanted to do something. So what is everyone's thoughts?
Yes, we should.
Would anyone be available to do the tabling? I know I can't, and I know Melissa can't.
I can now. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
I
I
can't.
and I can as well. Roberto can too.
I can too. The Basilica thing is on Sunday, right? The 24th.
Yes, it's on the 24th.
Okay.
Okay, so all of you are confirmed. There's 3 people confirming for the April 23rd farmers market, right?
Yes, I am.
Did we save that stuff from last year with the pledge?
Ellie?
Yeah, I have it.
Do we
It's
want
all,
to use that
it's all,
again?
Yeah, that's great. Let's maybe just make a couple of new ones.
Yeah.
Do we have a banner?
We have banner 2.0 because I can't find banner 1.0.
Awesome, that's cool.
Yep, so we have, okay, so is someone going to make it, who made the arrangements with the farmer's market last time?
that was me. I can do it. I can't be there that day, but I'll make arrangements and I'll get you guys the materials I have and stuff.
Great. Ellie and I will
Perfect.
pull together everything that we have here and we'll let you know when it's available to come and pick it up. Ellie, can you find out, or does anyone remember if we need to provide a table and tent?
They gave us a tent. We brought our own table. I believe that they offered me a table last year, but
Take it.
we did bring our own.
Okay, take it. If they-
Oh wait, no.
whatever-
Sorry. We didn't bring our own table. Sorry, I'm getting my events mixed up. We did not bring our own table. They gave us the table. They gave us the tent. We brought chairs.
Yes.
Okay.
we brought chairs from here, from our office.
I brought chairs from my basement. They were my chairs. I mean, I can bring them again if we need them, but we have chairs in this building.
We love basement chairs.
Okay.
So great. If you can confirm that and confirm that we have access to a tent and a table. You and I will pull together the tablecloth, the banner, and stuff to go on it. And that would be awesome. And it would be great for us to have the flyers for the Earth Fair there. Hopefully we will by then.
That flyer that Cal, that you sent us, that trifold, that would be so awesome to have there. I don't know, if we have time to do that, but that was such a good job.
Thank
It's a
you.
perfect
I was just gonna
segue
say
into
this
that.
segues well, because I was going to bring that up next.
Before we segue, Carl, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, how many, is this chairs for the people who are staffing the table to sit on? Is that what you're looking for? How many chairs do you need? 2? I look out at the farmer's market from my home. So if you want chairs on that morning, I can leave them on the porch. Tell me how many you want, and I will leave them for you.
We would love to do that.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Remind me or I will forget because I'm away till about 9:30 on Saturday morning.
Okay,
I'll leave them. Okay.
fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on the farmer's market then?
Yeah, I'll say one more thing. Benna mentioned adding new photo pledges. Do we want to just make an email thread and then figure it out there? Or
I'm not familiar with what you all did, so somebody else who knows what you're all talking about.
we did like a photo pledge that was like, I pledge to go
Right.
meatless Mondays. I pledge to,
Okay.
whatever.
I
Oh,
might
that's the
propose
square
that we-
thing that you've had by your desk forever, Ellie?
Yes.
Yeah, it's been sitting here since last Earth Day. Actually, I moved it like 2 weeks ago.
I know. I was like, where's that big square that's been sitting there for our whole entire lives? Okay, so the
So there was
square
like there was 5 of them. I don't remember what they were off the top of my head, but I could send an email saying what they were and what else do we want to add.
Okay,
I have a
Cal?
proposal.
Yeah, go ahead.
My proposal would be instead of trying to ask everybody in this group, we just break it out to the education subcommittee, which effectively means you and I will talk about it, but it might mean that we don't need to have everybody consult on the frame.
True.
Great. Betta?
I have one amendment, which is, Melissa, if you could, or Ellie, since you have the stuff, if you could create a Google Doc where you just list the actions that we currently have and then send a link to everybody. Then if people do have some wonderful, suggestion that they can add to that Google Doc. Otherwise, the Education Outreach Committee will come up with some new ones, but it would be good to just at least have a shared Google Doc where all of the ones from last year are included. Because the only one that I can recall at the moment is Wish Cycling, which was very popular. So it would be good to have some new ones.
Yeah, I'll put that stuff out from the balcony, and if you guys are gonna have a meeting, send me an invite, I'll be there. Yeah, I just can't be at the event, but I can help in other ways.
Could you make the Google Doc and just
Yeah, sure,
capture
yeah.
what we have? Okay, thank you so much.
Great. Anything else on the farmer's market part of this conversation? All right, so let's go to Cal and Melissa on the brochure choices.
Yo. Did folks get a chance to click through and look at what I sent around before, more or less?
Yep.
Cool. So, Melissa and I talked about it, and with Maya also, and it seems like we've got. Oh yeah, there it is. I was going to share my screen. Now I don't have to.
Nice.
It seems like we've got a couple of options depending on what information we want people to be able to physically take, what we think they will want to physically take. So I think the easiest thing for us to make would be this trifold. Right now, it's not finished because we were waiting to see if this is what folks wanted to do. But it lists some of the climate smart resources that are available to people in Kingston. As opposed to maybe some of the climate smart actions people could take. It's just a different approach. So there's options for that. Right now it's a list of resources and it will be a little more a little more thorough, but this is most of what'll be in it just for space reasons. And on the back, if you go back, Julie, just to the other side, yes, underneath the boat there in the middle, it will explain how like reduce, reuse, recycle, rethink, repair apply to the climate crisis, so that it's a little more obvious why we're sharing this info. So that's one possible handout. We talked about the idea of maybe doing like one of those seed paper, like business card sized handouts that has like the logo on it and maybe a QR code to this information rather than the fold itself, or potentially a magnet that has the logo and a QR code to get to this information. One of the things that would mean is that there would need to be a page for the QR code to link to, which I don't know how much of a headache that is, but I presume that it would be a little bit of a headache. The other question is, recyclable paper is not that hard to come by. Soy inks are not that expensive, but the magnet does mean another, manufacturing and like mining question as far as like the footprint of making it. Will people be more excited to take a magnet? I don't know. Are they more likely to think about a magnet on the fridge than to think about the trifold that they stuffed in the drawer with all of the takeout menus? I don't know. So those are some things. What are your thoughts?
Magnet on the fridge.
If the magnet on the fridge had a QR code and not all of the individual information, would you scan that QR code and use it, or would you just look at the magnet?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure, Cal.
So if it were one of those, the other thing we discussed is they make those longer magnets that sometimes have emergency contact information on it. Like it'll be like, here's your local hospital, here's, various, resources. I feel like insurance companies give them out sometimes.
Okay.
Like here's the address of the fire department. If it were one of those longer ones, we could list some of the things out that are in the trifold right now. But again, we're still talking about like printing a bigger and probably a lot more expensive item.
Let's go to some hands raised here. Betta? Betta, are you there? Where's your hand up from before? Okay. Melissa?
I think it was up from before.
Okay.
So I personally like the magnet idea because a pro for that for me is that when you scan it, it links to a page that you can continuously change. And if the information changes, one of the issues I had creating this info is when the pandemic hit, some of the places accepting like plastic bags took the collection bins out of their hallways to minimize foot traffic and people coming in unnecessarily. If things get added, like since this creation of the new village refillery store with all those refillable items showed up in Kingston. So like we could just keep adding to that online resource versus when you have paper, it's a stagnant thing that like the information has to be, has to stay valid. So that's a pro for something scannable. A con I see is certain age groups or audiences may not they don't like scanning stuff on their phone or they don't know how to do it. And so you limit them getting that information. But I just want to put those pros and cons out there.
I think we should have both. And people, if they're picking something up, they choose what works for them, either the trifold or the magnet.
Have you guys talked about where this funding for this is going to come from?
Not really, and I have no idea what it costs to get magnets printed. The paper I assumed would be feasible, like one way or another, but I don't know whether there is money at all. I think in the past there's been a little bit of money for this group, but I don't know if we had to put that in the budget in advance. I don't know how it worked. So if you have any clarity on that, that would help.
Clarity, we have money. So I have a line that we can pull this out of. It's not like $745,000. So it's like a small amount, like a couple thousand. And I don't even really can't really spend a couple thousand on it, but I could spend something. I think we could swing a magnet and a brochure. I would lean towards, I'm not brochure, but I see the value of brochure. I also know that magnets get thrown away and they have to actually go get thrown away, but as opposed to a brochure that gets recycled. But I also am somebody who has produced thousands of brochures in my life that I've actually seen in the recycling myself when I put together a recycling brochure and I see it in the recycling, which means people get rid of it. So, you know, I don't want to be that irony at the Earth Fair that's like, why is this Earth Fair group putting together these throwaway things? We all have that consideration, right? So I like the idea of the magnet with a QR code. I don't think it's that complicated to set up a page. I mean, it could certainly go to the sustainability page of the city's website, which already exists, and then I can just add a link on there for more climate smart stuff. I mean, all of the sustainability work that we're doing in the city of Kingston can be linked with this QR code. So, and one of those can be like the recycle, reduce, reuse, repair stuff, or whatever needs to happen. The question about this would be the timing. I'm gonna stop sharing this if that's okay. So like, we typically use, we use the fast signs typically for print stuff, depending on how much it is. If it's more than 1,000, I need to get a couple quotes. But if we're thinking like we want to have things on our table on the 23rd, which would be great and ideal, then we need something that can go to print, like, I would guess, by the first week in April.
Yeah, I was figuring we'd have about a week to turn it around.
So if people are okay with that, I mean, did we explore magnets already when we were talking about the pizza box thing? Did any of us?
I think maybe I got quotes for magnets from that.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like it was a lot, but
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. So
Yeah.
here's a couple things that need to happen. One, I will find out exactly from my budget what we have, which I will share with you, Cal and Melissa. You all are going to finish whatever the design is and design a magnet.
So I think the magnet would be the logo at the top and then just the list of the information that's currently in the trifold. I would be reformatting the information that's already there. If we were doing the kind that's the list. If we're doing a kind that's just the logo and a QR code, then that's, 20 minutes of work. So it really depends. First of all, do folks know what I'm talking about when I say like the emergency number, like the longer magnets? Okay, yeah, they're like, I don't know, 6 inches by 4 inches or something. So that would be the kind if we wanted to individually list on the magnet the information. If the point is for it to be scannable and updatable, then sending things to print, getting things ready to go to print wouldn't take long, because that's a very quick process. We would need the URL for the QR code to link to be set up before I could make the design. And then after it went to print, we could put the data onto that page. Like, we wouldn't have to already have the information on the page. We would have to have the URL for the page.
Yep.
So that would give us a couple of weeks before Earth Day to get the page itself set up, because no one would be scanning it before then.
Yep.
I have a fairly new phone and it can't cope with QR codes. Like, it doesn't work on my phone. So I don't know who else is in that boat. I think the idea of being able to refresh the information makes sense, but also who's going to refresh that information and how often? If it's going to be less than annually, people will just get a new one next year, So that's my about the QR code. Like, I can see the utility. I don't know if it's that important, but yeah, if folks have thoughts on what would be ideal, I think any of these you have time to execute. We just have to decide today.
I like the long one with all the info on it.
I would say cost-wise, we may not want to do that one because a smaller magnet may cost less but we could get priced for both and then look at the quantities and stuff.
I would also say if it costs more but is more useful,
Yes.
and an object that costs less but isn't as useful, like, that might also be worth considering. If we can't give out as many of them, we can't give out as many of them.
Okay, so Melissa, you got quotes in the past from for production, right? From like
Yeah.
Fast Signs or somebody else. Okay, so I'm gonna figure out what my budget is for this. And you should get quotes for like certain quantities on the trifold printed and on the magnet. And then we can get as many as we can for the amount of money that we have. Okay. All right. So what else needs to be decided here?
It sounds like, let me say what I'm hearing and folks can tell me if it sounds right. It sounds like we do want to have available hard paper copies of the trifold for folks who prefer a trifold as their way of taking information. I am hearing that we also want a magnet as an option, and that it sounds more useful to have one with static information on it rather than with the QR code.
I disagree with
It
that.
sounds like I'm hearing people say.
Just for the record, I disagree with that.
You disagree? Okay, which thing did you think would be better?
I think a QR code is fine, and the website, not just the QR code, but also the website, because I know that any of us could change that at any time. And I think there's much more utility in having something that is dynamic than having something that is static.
Okay.
Especially if it's on your refrigerator. Even though magnets last forever and hold up your kid's picture forever, it's also cool if it actually can do something.
That sounds good.
So I guess
Whether or not there's also static information on there, I'm actually neutral on. I think there needs to be a QR code to our website.
Okay, great. So one way or another, so it sounds like the sort of this is what everyone wants would be that larger magnet with the information, but also saying like for updates, scan this code and the URL at the bottom. Is that right? And maybe I put the QR code in the trifold also. Is that right?
Or were we saying that it's kind of either the long one with all the information or the smaller magnet with the QR code and the website? Is that what we were saying?
That's what I'm trying to
Yeah.
understand, because I had offered them as two options, but we could just do one and have it be longer, but have the QR code in case anything gets updated.
So maybe price out. It seems like we're under something of a time constraint here. Maybe.
Carl,
Julie
I'm gonna mute you. There's some background stuff going on.
Maybe Julie can give Melissa an idea of budget, and Melissa can make an executive decision based on how much money she has to spend.
But me and Cal and Maya,
Yeah.
the education subcommittee can together, if everyone's okay with that conclusion. We just didn't want to make any decisions without consulting everyone. That's why Cal sent that email, a couple of days ago, and we wanted to kind of settle on something. But if you're okay with us figuring it out, offline, we can do that.
It seems like time and time tells us that's the wisest choice unless somebody objects strongly.
I'm good with you guys moving on all the details. I can get you a budget number by tomorrow morning.
Yeah, that sounds great. If everyone can live with all of the options that we've outlined, then Melissa and Maya and I can get the details and just decide and move forward. If there's anyone who can't, who's like, I don't like this idea, don't do it, that's I guess the information that we really need. If folks are like, I can live with any of these options, then we can move forward.
We can live with it.
Yeah, we can live with the options as far as I'm concerned.
So in terms of getting quotes also, Betta put her note in there about Turning Mill. We have used Turning Mill before for the Earth Fair stuff. And I can vouch that they did a great job. So Betta, go ahead. Were you saying something? Oh, no.
That was it. Just, yeah, they're great and try to be as eco as possible and local.
So maybe we can talk to Turning Mill. Well, I guess we could get quotes from both. I wonder if Turning Mill does magnets. I bet that Fast Science does. I don't know whether Turning Mill would, but Melissa, are you okay with sending those two inquiries? Do folks have a sense of how many paper items we would maybe hand out? I have no idea.
Are we talking about Earth Fair and Farmers Market?
It would be Earth Fair, Farmers Market, and then like through the end of the season, ideally.
Price might dictate that.
500.
What was that, Roberto? Sounded like a very slow 500, but I don't know for sure if that's what he said.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay. So maybe
That's
the
more, that's
initial-
more than I was thinking, but
500.
Okay, then why don't we find out what it would cost to do 500 as like the initial quote, and if it's like way more, then we can do math from there.
okay.
Thank you. I think that answers all the questions.
Great
Thank
work.
you, everybody.
Great work.
If I
great
can
work.
put a little note on this, although it seems more professional and super cool, the glossier you go, the less recyclable paper is. Just as a note.
Oh,
All right, anything else on the production of the materials? All right, I just did want to note on this item, this agenda item, about, since we're talking about outreach and education, we don't typically talk about this under this agenda item, but we should be. And that is environmental education, particularly what the city does. I'm not going to go into it in depth now, and maybe at a future meeting, I'll have our environmental ed team come and sort of present about what they do so folks can know. But I did want to just give people a heads up that for the past like 10 years or so, we've been operating with some funding from multiple grants to do our environmental ed programs. And we just got another extension for 5 more years from the Zoos, Botanical Gardens and Aquaria grant, which helps to fund the work that we do through the Forsyth Nature Center and many of our other programs in our parks. So 5 more years of Casey's time and some of Ellie's time and some of my time to continue to do environmental education. So we're excited about that. And like I said, at a future meeting, we'll have folks come on so we can have you understand about what environmental education is done through the city and maybe get some suggestions on what gaps that you might see that might be good for us to expand with. All right. So, yep.
Julie, it's Kevin. Could you just clarify where the funding was coming from? I was typing and I just couldn't keep up there.
It's ZBGA, Zoos,
ZBGA.
Botanical Gardens and Aquaria.
Okay.
All right. Anything else on outreach and education? All right. Green Business Challenge and Green Jobs. Anyone have anything on that?
No, and I forget, I think we wanted to have Mike come to our meeting. But I never sent him like a formal invitation. When is our next meeting?
April 27th.
Okay, April 27th. All right, so I will shoot him a note and make sure that he knows about it and hopefully he can attend. So yes, that will be good.
But are you or anyone on this call familiar with a group called Block Power?
Oh, yes. Very familiar.
Okay. Very familiar, like, they're great. We want them to come here. Or let's talk offline. This is not a good thing.
I have known Danelle, the CEO, for like 15 years. He's a wonderful person. I think it would definitely be something worth exploring. But yeah, let's talk about it. I'm excited to speak with you more, but maybe in another meeting.
Let me just tell you the context of why I'm even saying it. Because
Okay.
I'm not trying to be elusive or anything. I'm just trying to
I know you're very mysterious, Julie.
So I got a request from a representative from Suncommon to have a meeting about the potential of bringing folks from Block Power to set up shop in Kingston. And folks from Suncommon, this person had been in touch with them, and somebody from Block Power had set an initial, like, sure, we like to have this conversation. And the person's name is Ariel Walsh, is the person from Block Power. But anyway, for those of you who don't know what Block Power is, and Betta probably should speak to this more than I will, but I'll start. The context here is that this isn't a green jobs training context. My understanding is that Block Power is an organization that's based out of the city, and New York City, and they do green jobs training, and they build a cohort of people and they train them on green jobs. And then contractors that need green jobs trained employees go to Block Power, and then they get staff, whether it's for like a day or a week or a little bit of time, kind of like Norman Temp in this area. Is that the right understanding, Betta?
That's not really how my understanding of Block Power, but that's interesting and definitely worth exploring. So
Okay, so that was this person from Sun Commons
Jade,
understanding, because I said, what does Sun Common have to do with this? And they said, if Block Power were to move here, we would be able to pull from their cohort that they developed. So I think this all calls to me needing to have conversations with people offline, perhaps, but this was merely just me kind of get a Cal, say something. What are you saying?
I was curious who you talked to from Suncommon.
Susanna Bradley.
Susanna, she used to be my boss. Okay.
okay, well, let's definitely talk. I'm super interested. And Block Power is working in Ithaca on some of their decarbonization efforts, and earlier today, New Yorkers for Clean Power hosted on one of our online teach-ins on building decarbonization. I think Ellie joined for a few, and I believe I saw you on there. And Luis, the sustainability director, Luis Aguirre Torres, spoke about their decarbonization plans, and I know that they're partnering with Block Power. So Block Power is doing some stuff outside of New York City for sure, but I think it would be good to have a conversation about it, and I'm happy to be a part of any of that, Julie. So
Okay.
feel free to loop me in. And
That's what I wanted to hear.
Janelle actually, the head of Block Power, just reached out today about having folks like in New York City that he wants to plug into some of the work that the other organization I work for is doing in nature buildings and elsewhere, doing weatherization and stuff like that. So they're clearly very active in the space, and it's worth exploring for sure.
Okay. So I haven't connected with Block Power yet, although Susanna made the connection for me. I'm going to connect with them and loop you in at that time.
Okay, that sounds good.
Perfect.
That sounds good. Happy to talk more about it. So yeah, great. And I don't know if we said this the last time, can never remember, but like speaking of green jobs, we're still waiting to hear back about the clean energy hubs from NYSERDA, but hopefully I imagine that Cornell Cooperative Extension is going to be the winner in our region. They're definitely, I would say, like the lead contender, and so they will be the anchor organization for the regional clean energy hub in the Mid-Hudson. And New Yorkers for Clean Power is going to be heading up the workforce development piece of that in partnership with them, and Cal's going to be kind of the point person. So we're really excited about that, and doing more on the workforce, green jobs front locally. So stay tuned. Hopefully by the next time we meet, we'll have that like in the bag. But NYSERDA hasn't yet announced their contracts yet for the clean energy hub, but I'm fairly certain it will be CCE.
Okay,
So that'll be exciting.
okay, great. All right, anything else on green jobs or green business challenge then? All right, excellent. Zoning, any updates, Kevin, on zoning?
Yes, so let me make sure, wait, am I, not muted, right? Okay, good.
Later.
Okay, yeah, yeah, I'm like typing and, yeah, right, back and forth there. Yeah, okay, two things. One was, I mean, it was in the Daily Freeman a couple of days ago, the Laws and Rules Committee of the Common Council is recommending to the full Common Council that the Common Council be the lead agency for the secret aspect of the zoning. As a follow-up to last month's two Zoom calls, one of them was on Rondout, specifically East Strand, and the other one was uptown on Hurley Avenue and Albany Avenue. It appeared that the majority of the people that were on those calls favored a pedestrian-oriented approach to form-based code as opposed to an automobile-oriented approach. There's still some questions in Rondout with regards to sea level rise and how that will be coordinated. Dover Coal is fully aware of the issues. The question is how, how do they propose, what does it look like? That's where I'm going here with this. So more walks have been proposed. I think Andreas Shout has been discussing this with Anthony Tampone Jr., me, and Tanya Garment. But Tanya's out of town this week. She's on a land use conference out west. And when she comes back, I think we'll sort that out and figure with Dover Coal and figure out where the next walks are going to be. That seems to be the best way. We've determined that seems to be the best way where you get the most people interested. We had about 40 people on each Zoom call with Bartek. We'd like to get more. So I think that's where we're at, is with the public, trying to engage with additional public outreach. Once they do start with the secret process, that it's going to move fairly quickly. So they're going to have a draft of this plan, I believe, sometime in April. So stay tuned for that.
Okay, very good. Anyone have anything else on zoning? Questions for Kevin or other things to add? Okay, thanks, Kevin. Renewable energy, CCA or solarize. I will note that I am in contract negotiations with Suncommon for putting the solar on this Andy Murphy Neighborhood Center building. We are working on contract language, so hopefully we'll be able to turn that around in the next couple months. I also want to mention, and I'm hoping that maybe Cal or Betta can help on this. The city is going to be applying for a FEMA grant, hazard mitigation grant program, to get a generator for this building. And we will have a fully solar building. And so it feels, and maybe Dan, you could be helping with this too, because I see you smiling. It feels counterintuitive to me to be purchasing a diesel generator as the backup for a building that's fully solar. However, in my RFP that I put out for the solar, when I asked in the RFP for the responders to say how we could also do battery storage, I was told a response that said something like, no, you can't for this, this, and this, and this reason. What I'm getting at is not really knowing anything about battery storage or power walls or generators that aren't diesel. Can any of you say anything to me that would help inform me on what I should be asking FEMA for? Cal? Nope. Cal put his hand.
In my experience, the only thing that would prevent you from doing, I mean, the limitation for batteries is how much power you need for how long. Like, you can get any number of batteries. You can get a shipping container of batteries. The question is, how long do you want to be able to run what loads and will the panels be coming back on to recharge the batteries? So it's not impossible that there could conceivably be a like catastrophic weather event long enough where like there's so much snow on your solar panels that it's like a week of freezing temperatures and like you're not recharging your battery. Like that's not impossible, but it's, I think if you're like, depending on what you're talking about needing backup for, it really just sounds like, without me having read what they sent you saying why batteries wouldn't work, it sounds to me like the issue would be that like they think that the size of the battery like needed would be prohibitively expensive or something. Like that's what it sounds like would probably be the drawback. But if you're applying for FEMA funds, then it seems to me that like you should be able to ask. Yeah, the way that batteries work in an outage is they switch on immediately. Like your modem won't reset, your clock on your microwave won't reset. And so it's a lot more convenient than having a diesel generator backup for short outages. If you've got an outage of over a week, that's when it starts to make a little more sense to have something other than a battery, if it's also going to be during a time of year where you can't recharge using your solar. I don't know enough about this particular application to tell you for sure whether you need to be concerned about that longer term issue. But my guess is that they just thought it was cost prohibitive. There are incentives for battery purchases, I think. I don't remember.
Can I
off the
ask
top
a
of my head.
question? I'm sorry to interrupt. I
Yeah.
have like the actual bid paper from Suncommon where they gave us the reason why they couldn't do solar, and I don't understand what this means. So if anyone knows what this means, please let me know. I'm just gonna read it verbatim.
Perfect.
Due to New York State adoption of UL 950, no viable or reliable tested and compliant for public buildings product exists that are New York 2020 Fire Code approved for 3PH 208V services. I guess 208 volts. I don't know. Don't know what that means. Didn't know what it means when they submitted it, and that's why we didn't pursue solar with pursue storage with a solar bid.
And
Okay.
also our fire department was like, this doesn't mean anything to me either.
Wow. Okay. So it sounds to me like, my guess, again, I'm guessing, it sounds to me like the fire department might need an update on what the codes are for solar that they need to be aware of. Because that's pretty common. That's really common that like fire departments are a couple steps behind whatever the actual code is for solar panels, because it changes fast. It also sounds to me like what they're saying is, because it is a municipal building, something about the minutiae of the building code for municipal buildings means that Powerwall, the Sonnen battery, whatever, like the products that are available are not rated for that use because of like the voltage of the building, which is a little weird. I think if it were me, I would call them and get them to explain that to you in plain language. Because if you had a house you were trying to back up, it wouldn't matter how big the house was or how much power it used. You could get a battery of some size that would back up that house. And so it sounds like the problem is something about it being a municipal building, and there being like a gap in the fire code right now that doesn't allow them to use any of the products on the market.
Okay, great.
But that's me guessing without a whole lot of information, just based on
Okay.
my.
Dan, do you have insight?
I think Cal summed it up pretty good. And if you had already discussed with the City of Kingston Building Department and the fire department, what have they said? It's my understanding that, at least in the City of Kingston, that you can't install battery backup just yet. But there is some prohibition of that by the building department, or they haven't adopted a rule. I'm going through the process of putting solar on my house in May, and I will make it battery backup ready with a transfer switch and you know the circuitry to do that. But it was explained to me that one, it's cost prohibitive for me. For the cost of batteries is still very expensive compared to a diesel generator you can buy at Lowe's. So I would, similar to what Cal said, follow up with the Kingston Fire Department, Building Department, and see what they say. Someone's got to like kind of dig in and find out like where is this answer within the city's rules. And then with Suncommon, yeah, like call them and say like, what do you mean by this UL UL is a rating system, unless it's in the electrical code, the international, that is IEC. These are code questions.
What does UL stand for? Because I just Googled New York State UL 950 and nothing useful came up.
Underwriters Laboratory.
you go.
Underwriters Laboratory. Okay.
If you flip over your phone or most electronics, you will see a UL code, meaning that it has gone through like quality assurance and testing and say like it meets basic baseline for it's not going to catch on fire when you plug it into the wall, kind of a thing. There are plenty of non-UL products out there, but it's kind of like user at your own risk. It hasn't undergone this quality assurance.
So, thank you, Dan. To what you were saying, Dan, you started this with the city of Kingston doesn't allow battery. What is that comment based on?
Applying for a permit.
So that
The
someone in
solar
our
company
building
goes through
department,
it.
so when you went to the building department to get a solar permit and said, I want to put in battery, they said, no, you can't do that in Kingston.
That was the advice I got from the installer, who is going through the whole permitting process on behalf. That's very typical, so that the owner doesn't have to do that. And I'm happy to let them do that,
Okay,
to not have to go down to the building department.
okay,
Although they're very nice down
okay. So that's a
Yeah,
couple things
great.
we're gonna follow up on. I appreciate that. Does anyone else have insight on this that would help this conversation? Okay,
there. I'd be happy to go down to the building department and just ask as a resident and see what response I get. I don't know if it'll be a well-informed response if nobody there has dug into the code and really what their stance is.
Dan, you might also ask your installer if they could give you like more specifics about what they saw. Or what they
Yeah, I will, because I'm looking to make it all battery backup ready as far as the disconnects and just the circuitry design. I kind of put it out of mind because it's not cost feasible for me right now. I mean, it's probably like an $8,000 plus, just a starter, $8,000 just for when I have like a modest house, kind of small.
right.
But yeah, you could, but I've certainly seen plenty of battery backup systems, that are the size of a container or something like that.
I just want to say I pulled the other bid form from our other bidder, Greenleaf Solar,
Mhm.
and they gave us a proposed storage system cost. They said that we could do it.
What?
Isn't there a note on the bottom of theirs also?
Oh no, that's about New York Sun incentives. It's not about the solar.
What
I mean, that's about
brand
the
did
storage.
the Greenleaf or Green Street? So what? I didn't hear what they were called. What brand of battery were they going to use?
Yeah, give me a second. Hold on.
I'll take your time. Or we could talk about this later if not everyone wants to sit here for this. I'm mystified.
Yeah, we're kind of just grabbing at straws here. My one guess maybe with Sun Common is that since if nothing is UL, that they just don't want to mess with it because it's a liability, especially if they're taking on the warranty and long-term maintenance of the system. Just like there is nothing that's UL listed as of yet, so we're not going to take that risk on. I don't.
Enphase and charge 10. Does that
Sorry,
sound
so that
familiar?
means if they were doing an N-phase system, that's an AC system, not a DC system. So it might be that the batteries are different, but we're getting into the weeds. So yeah, I'd be happy to talk about this more outside of the meeting if you want. If you want to like ask around and then reconvene, please just loop me in.
Okay, perfect. So we will reach out to Suncommon and Building Safety to understand this and see what I can do with FEMA. Thank you everyone for your input on that.
That's a weird mystery.
Super mystery. Anything else that someone wants to report about any renewable energy projects, Solarize or CCA stuff?
Well, this is just an opportunity that is going to be available until April 21st, which is related to the all electric code RFP that we had an online teaching about today. And it just seems like a fantastic opportunity for Kingston to go for. We could get $500,000 if we, adopt this resolution supporting an all electric building code. And there's support in doing so. And so far, no municipality has applied. That may change after today because we had I don't know, how many people, Melissa? 220 people participate today. So
there were
Nine
at least
registered.
50 bed abroads today.
Oh, were you on, Dan? I didn't see you. Okay, I know that was really funny. I accidentally sent the calendar invite to everybody with my Zoom, and so everybody was joining as me. It was like the three amigos. Too many amigos. Okay, I don't know if anybody gets that 80s movie reference, but in any case, it's really an amazing opportunity. This is like the direction the state is going in, and everybody's going to be doing this, and it could even be state law in a very short amount of time. And so Kingston, being a climate leader in the state, could get in on this and get $500,000 to do it. So I hope that we can move ahead with submitting a proposal, and I'm happy to help in whatever way I can pull this together. But it's due very soon, and maybe they'll extend it, but that's unclear as of right now. So, and I forget, how many are they awarding? 4, I think. Yeah, so time is of the essence. So just putting that out there. And maybe that money could be used to, get a great storage system for the Andy Murphy center, because I think if there are any, I'm not a storage expert, but I'm sure it will be expensive, right? I mean, as Dan has found in trying to do a storage system at his house, doing a solar storage system at a big community center will probably cost a fortune. So this is free money that's available to do cool climate action stuff.
I thought it was to adopt the stretch code. Or is it for anything?
This is an all electric code. This would be
All-
adopting an all electric code. So it's the next level from the stretch code. I imagine very soon the New York State stretch code will be to adopt an all electric code, but right now it's still so early in all of this that the only municipality in New York State that has an imminent all electric code is for new construction is New York City. So, this would be an all electric code for Kingston, that would go into effect, I guess very soon. But the main thing we would have to do is, have the city council adopt a resolution. That seemed like that was the first step in the whole thing. So, and I have the slides from Elizabeth, the NYSERDA person, so I can send those to you guys. And I don't know if we want if this is even something, Julie, that you think you would be interested in pursuing. But if it is, we want to form a little ad hoc working group to help make it happen, I'm happy to be a part of that.
Better, do you mean, when you say all electric code, you mean heating as well? Everything electric?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So no more oil, no more gas, just heating, only electric.
Yeah, I mean, they're not, I don't think we're building too much new construction now with oil, right? I mean, it's such an antiquated technology, but
Right.
I think it's more about not having new construction be having new construction use gas.
Okay.
And
I just wanted to.
yeah, no. And this was pretty new to me too, hearing the details about the RFP today. So, this is all, and right now there is legislation also that's been introduced at the state level called the All Electric Building Act that would prohibit gas or, in new construction starting in 2024. And the Climate Action Council recommendations are 2024 for under 5 stories and over 5 stories starting in 2027. And that's in the New York State scoping plan. That's the analysis that the state has done basically to show like what we have to do in order to achieve our climate goals. So it's very clear, like this is the direction everything's going in. We have to decarbonize our buildings, by 2050. So we got to start somewhere. And, this isn't just like free money to do it, as we're going to be one of the first municipalities in the state.
Ben, one more question. All
Go ahead,
right,
Roberto.
before you were talking about plug power, I got unplugged from the seminar, from the webinar, from the Zoom meeting. What was that about? Could you give me just quickly 2-second,
I'm not
thing
sure I
about what
understood
the
your
plug
question.
power thing was?
The block power. I put a link in the chat to their website. It's a company that helps disadvantaged, marginalized communities implement clean energy solutions like heat pumps and solar. And they've done a lot of great work in New York City to help like low-income homeowners install solar and do energy efficiency and things like that.
They're in New York City company.
They're based in New York City, yeah, but they do work in other parts of the state and country. So there's a link in the chat. If you can visit
good.
that, you can check
Thank
out
you.
more about what they do.
Thank you.
Sure.
So we're going to start. Go ahead, Ellie. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I have a really quick question. It's not going to take too long. So you said part of this is, passing this resolution, but you have to submit the proposal, before you even get started on the resolution. And the deadline is sometime in 2023, December, I think.
For passing the resolution?
For passing, right? So this is the kind of thing that I feel like would be like pretty controversial and the council would have a really hard time with. And it's the kind of thing I feel like we get sent back and forth and back and forth. If we decided to do this and if we just got this proposal and we started working with NYSERDA and then we're just unable, like through no fault of anybody involved, but through, community, the community doesn't want this and we're unable to pass this resolution, like what happens? Like we didn't fulfill our end of the deal, essentially.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know.
I think that's a good question for Elizabeth, because she is definitely willing to take questions and guide people through the application process. And she's been fielding a lot of this upfront inquiries. So yeah, we're going to send around the slide deck of that presentation and the recording if everyone wants to review it, and then it will have their contact info in there as well.
Good.
Yeah, she's definitely available for questions and support. And, she's actually been a local municipal official in her town outside of Albany, and is, very helpful and a great resource. So hopefully she can hold our hand through the process.
So I did participate in the Stretch to Zero webinar that was a couple weeks ago. I asked Ellie to be on the one today. Tomorrow or in the next couple days, Ellie and I will debrief on this and also discuss this with the administration here. And then I can get back with folks at Climate Smart to see what we want to do if the city is choosing to move forward on it or not. And so I appreciate everyone giving the updates and sharing all that. And we will reach out about that question as well. Great.
That's good. Thank you.
Yep. Anything else on that agenda item? All right, then we will move forward to clean energy communities. Ellie is going to give us a presentation. I will share my screen. So as you all know, for several years, starting in 2019, or actually far earlier than that, with the purchase of the poles, the city of Kingston has retrofitted all of our lights to LED. And so since that project is complete, we put together a report and analysis of the project. And so Ellie is going to go over that in brief, and we will make that report available as well. So I'm going to share my screen. That's not the one that I want to share. How do I switch? Stop sharing. All right, Ellie, you're up.
Okay, so this is a cost and energy savings analysis. It's short, it's only a few pages, so it's easy to read, but it's for 2 projects that reached completion in 2020 and 2021. The first is the traffic signal conversion and removal project, which involved the removal of 11 3 light traffic signals from intersections in the city. And the other is the LED street lighting project, which was a, substantial project to convert all of our streetlights at 2,400 and change to LED fixtures. That project took about 5 years. The traffic signal removal project only took a few months. But this is an energy savings and cost savings analysis of those 2 projects, so we can understand the impacts that they had on, the city and the city's assets. This is just an introduction. All the data I got from this report was collected from all the baseline data comes from the 2012 Climate Action Plan. NYPA, the New York State Power Authority, when they came in to help us with this project, they also did a lot of data collection and analysis of how much energy we use, how much energy we used to use, what they think, we'll be saving when we convert it to LEDs. So I got a lot of data from NYPA. I pulled bills from the comptroller's office and pulled data from Portfolio Manager, which is the software that the city uses to catalog all of our energy use. And then greenhouse gas emissions were calculated using the most recent EPA conversion factor. So that's just all in the introduction. The first part of this is the traffic signal removal, which is the smaller of the 2 projects. This project actually started not because we wanted to save energy, but because these signals were, they were outdated. They didn't meet modern standards. The maintenance of these traffic signals was just too much. They were older technology. They weren't safe for pedestrians, etc. And so between August and December of 2020, 11 signals were removed at these intersections that are listed here in the report. So while this was not intended to produce, to show energy savings in the city, it actually, cut down on the amount of electricity that we use to operate, the bulk of the city signals had a pretty substantial impact. Additionally, as traffic signals require repair in the city, we have been converting them to LED bulbs. There's not one single initiative to convert all of our signals to LED bulbs, but if something breaks, we do replace it with an LED bulb. And these LED bulbs use about 50% of the energy of a 3-bulb stoplight. The figure is not exact, but they do use substantially less energy. So in this chart, you can see the end of year count of traffic signals in the city, the total annual energy consumption, the energy costs, and the associated greenhouse gas emissions for each year that I collected data on for this report. I used 2010 as a baseline because the 2010 data is what's listed in the Climate Action Plan. The removal of these traffic signals and the conversions have led to substantial energy reductions. In 2019, immediately before this project started, they were using about almost 56,000 kilowatt hours, a little bit less. And by the end of 2021, which was a full 12 months of reduced usage from less traffic signals, we were down to just under 40,000. And the savings are over $12,000, sorry, over $11,000, almost $12,000. So this was never intended to be an energy savings project, but it ended up being one. Here we have a graph. So the way the city is billed for their traffic signals is a little complicated. We have I believe 52 signals left. Can you scroll up to that chart again? How many are left? 40. Oh yeah, we have 52 traffic signals left. So 46 of these signals are billed in a conglomerate over 3 separate account numbers. And this conglomerate, these 3 conglomerates of traffic signals are billed the exact same amount of for energy use every single month, regardless of actual usage. So if a traffic signal that is within this conglomerate breaks, even though they're using less energy, that reduction in energy use is not reflected in our bills. So these are charged a standard fee every single month for a standard electrical charge. Then there are 6 other signals, 6 individual signals throughout the city that are off of this conglomerate for a variety of reasons. One of them, the one by the hospital that operates on a switch. What are those called? I can't remember what those are called, but it's not a timed light, so it's not billed in this conglomerate. So there's a handful of lights around the city that are not billed in the conglomerate, and those fluctuate. The billing amount fluctuates every month. So this project started in August, and as you can see in the graph, reductions in energy use were reported in our Central Hudson bills as early as June. And that's because even before we actually took these signals down, we told Central Hudson we were going to take the signals down, and so they started charging us for less electricity. And that's why the graph looks like this. So that is the traffic signals. Next, we have the streetlights, which was a huge project that took many years, and it began in 2014 with an analysis that was prepared for the city by CT Mail and CT Mail Associates, which the analysis was to evaluate the energy and cost savings from upgrading all of our lights to LED fixtures. In 2015, the city authorized the bonding to begin this project. In 2017, the city purchased all the streetlight poles and fixtures for Central Hudson for just under $500,000 in order to proceed with the retrofits, because we were unable to do so if Central Hudson owned the poles. It's worth noting that up until March of 2017, when we purchased these poles, we were paying pole rental fees, and we were being billed a standard maintenance fee by Central Hudson. Upon purchasing these poles, those fees were no longer applicable to the city, and so they were also slashed from the bills and from the budget. So the total allocated budget amount for the city streetlights dropped from $555,000 in 2016. And last year was $171,000. So we budget substantially less for streetlights. So starting in 2017, the city began converting lights in-house. They converted about 177. And then Wendell Energy Services stepped in and converted the remaining 2,250. So as you can imagine, converting all these fixtures to LEDs has had substantial impacts on the city's energy use and the city's the amount the city pays for electricity. We are saving upwards of $350,000 a year, which is incredible. That's an average, just from the energy savings alone. This doesn't even take into consideration the pole rental fees and the maintenance costs. Just energy alone is $350,000 a year. And you can see in this chart, if you want a progression, a visualization, I guess there's a visualization on the next page with a graph, but here is a chart of all of the data. And you can see as the percentage of total streetlights converted to LEDs rose, the amount of energy consumption fell, as did the annual associated energy costs and the greenhouse gas emissions. The last bulbs were converted in March of 2021. There were 2 remaining lights. And after December 31st, 2021, we were able to calculate the total amount of energy that we used to operate our streetlights and the total amount of money that we spent. And that was 927,239 kilowatt hours, which is a lot. I mean, it's a big decrease from, 1.8 million that we were, using in 2016. So it's had huge impacts. I mean, the annual associated energy cost has also dropped substantially. Overall, this project was very successful in terms of energy savings and cost savings, saving us a lot of energy, saving us a lot of money. So much so that the payback period is really only it was 4 years starting last March. So 3 years at this point, which is a pretty short payback period for a project this large. So if you go to the next page, we got a nice graph. Can you zoom out for a second so we can see the whole thing? It's kind of a big graph because there's a lot of data points, but I mean, that trend line is real nice to look at. Yeah, I mean, energy dropped. I mean, our energy use dropped substantially. I mean, in the summer months, can you go up for a second? In the summer months, we're saving, let's see. So 44% average reduction in energy use during winter months, 53% reduction in energy use during summer months, because, you know, the days are longer. So pretty substantial. And that averages out to, you know, almost 50%. So I believe that is all. We have some conclusions which talk about pretty much, this is just, we will continue doing these projects. The city has upgraded several of its community centers and firehouses and municipal buildings with LEDs as well. And those have also that has also led to substantial reductions in energy use. And as we continue forward and as we start, you know, working through the 2030 climate action plan, we're going to, you know, continue working on these very ambitious projects that will hopefully continue to save the city a lot of money and a lot of energy. And that is the whole thing. It's not even too long. If you want to take a look at it, I think it's going to be on kingston.gov-ny.gov/sustainability. So quick read.
Thank you, Ellie. Very, very good job. It is in the middle of it. This project seemed like it was going to go on forever. And now it is something that is instant success. As soon as we do it, it's just every community should be doing this. It's so although it took a long time, it's really a very turnkey project. And I think a lot of communities are looking to Kingston to what we did. You know, we're not the only community that has done this, but we have all our data. All of us are happy to speak to the process. I know that this report and the data has been shared with the Hudson Valley Regional Council, and I believe that they're having a webinar, or actually I have it right here. What did she say that she's doing with it? They are having a LED streetlights lowering municipal costs and carbon webinar next week. I don't have the information about that, but I'm sure it's, if you look at the Hudson Valley Regional Council's website, and they're using our information and data from other municipalities as well as to best practices and savings and other things. So we're really excited about it. And actually, you know, having the signals change at the same time was really a bonus, and multi purpose. So it's great for us to have this information, and as we move forward, we'll continue to have savings. So thanks, Ellie, for pulling that all together. Does anyone have any questions or comments about the report or the process? All right, so you can take a look at that. As I said, as Ellie said, it will be on the website. It's not there yet. It's likely that we're going to be putting out some press about it also through the mayor's office, now that the project is totally complete and that we have the analysis of it. So check that out as well. Great. Okay, so solid waste management is next on the agenda. I don't actually have anything at this point to report. We're still working on the organics plan. I'm hoping that the organics plan is going to be just like the LED report, which is it takes a really, really long time. And in the end, it's like, ta-da, look at all this great stuff we did with organics. It's just taking us a long time. It's a very comprehensive report. So still plugging away on it. So let's speak to the Earth Fair. We have a great planning team that's been meeting weekly, moving forward things with the Earth Fair, May 14th, from 10 to 4 in Forsyth Park. We actually had a meeting today. Some of us, a subgroup of us, had a meeting today with the 511 rideshare folks to talk about bringing in e-bike and e-scooter demos. We've started to commit and confirm food options. We're bringing in lots of vendors. We've talked about marketing and promotion. We have confirmed a number of different entertainment folks so far. We brought in a number of sponsors. They're trickling in. So it's going great. I will just bring this conversation back to something that Melissa brought up before that we didn't actually solidify on, which is having a climate smart table at the event. The same exact setup that will be at the Earth Fair or at the farmers market should be there, but somebody needs to sit there. And I'm not necessarily expecting someone to sit there for 6 hours, but ideally maybe 2 3-hour shifts or 3 2-hour shifts. Is there anyone that has availability on the 14th to be sitting at a climate smart table?
I mean, I'm gonna be at the event already. I don't know what my responsibilities are gonna be there on the day of though, so I don't know if I can necessarily commit to that. I don't know. Maybe?
Okay.
I think Serena,
14.
You're going to say that again, Roberto. I didn't hear you.
That's the 14th, right? May 14th, correct?
Yes. Yep.
I was gonna, oh,
I'm having trouble. First of all, I can't see anyone. But I can be there.
You can be there. Okay, great. I mean, I know a lot of us are, many of us are not all, like not all, but most of us are going to be there at the
Yes.
event, but we all are kind of like, we're all doing other things.
My video.
Roberto, if you could put it in the chat,
Well, I have nothing else to do. I mean, I haven't been assigned anything, so I'll be willing to do it.
okay, great. That is fantastic.
I was just
All
gonna
right,
add, if
Because
we want,
I'm out of whack here.
It's okay. We're following you.
I can't do anything right now.
My takeaway from
My
this is they're having,
video stopped. So I'll do it. I can do it.
okay, great.
I can do it. I can be at the table. I can be at the booth. You got me?
Perfect. Gotcha.
can I just add, can we also send just asking people in the email thread who couldn't make the meeting today if they want to do it, i.e. I think Serena would, she's tabled it for us in the past, and that way we can make shifts, make it easier for everybody.
Perfect. We'll do. Okay, anything else on Earth Fair that folks want to mention? A number of folks here are part of the planning team.
We don't have a lot of vendors yet, only like, I think 7 or 8. So if anyone has a connection to a local business that they'd like to see at the Earth Fair and you want to reach out personally, please do. Because we definitely need more people.
And if you do reach out to folks, tell them to connect with Ellie so that she can get them an exhibitor form so that they know all that information.
What's the cost of being there?
To be a vendor, $0
Yeah.
unless, well, to be an exhibitor, 0. If you are vending and selling something, it's $40.
Okay, wow, that's so reasonable.
As reasonable as it gets.
Yeah, yes, indeed. Okay,
Okay, and we'll keep you posted for the next, by the time we have our next meeting. We probably will not be pushing for more vendors, but I'll be putting out the call for helping, for people to help with more vendors and things as we, over the course of the next month, and anything else that we need from this group, we will, we'll reach out. I will ask while we're on the call, we didn't really talk about, about posters. Did we talk about, Ellie, did you get a quote for posters?
No, but I can.
Well, because in the past, I think the last one.
Oh,
we did-
wait. We did. Not at this meeting. We talked about it at the Earth Fair meeting. Casey and I are just going to take the old one and try and doctor it in like some kind of like Photoshop app thing that she probably knows how to use better than I do. And we're just kind of like, you know, because we have all the ones from 2020. And we could just print them in-house unless we want some glossy finish.
Well, that's what
Right?
I'm getting at, because the last time we used Turning Mill to do our posters, and we did palm cards. Did we get a palm card quote?
No, the only quotes I got were for the signs and the banner.
Right, because
But
that's
I
what
mean,
we
I can
got.
get any quote that we want. I just have to know what we're asking for.
Well, that's all the stuff that we got through Fast Signs the last time, but I agree with Betta that we should have them professionally printed, just like we have in the past. So Betta, do you think that we could use Turning Mill again for the posters and?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think that the deadline would be for them to get copy?
They're pretty fast. So I don't know. I can shoot them an email and ask, but we have time.
Can you shoot them an email and get a quote for us for the same amount of posters and the same amount of palm cards that we got the last time?
Sure, no problem.
And production of the poster, but basically using the exact same design and just changing what we need to be changed?
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
All right. Anything else on Earth Fair that we need to discuss? All right, then moving on to, there's no new business. Is there an update from public safety? Serena's not here, but Kevin, do you have something?
Well, I have the agenda open. We know that we were told that Ted from the Conservation Advisory Council couldn't attend the meeting tonight. Their meeting could be almost over. I mean, it's, time check, almost 7 o'clock. Their agenda just mostly had traffic stuff. One of them is old business, and I think it's Golden Hill Chazen study, and I think that's it.
Okay, so nothing to report. Otherwise, thank you though. Ulster County Climate Smart Committee, Roberto. Oh, this is probably not going to go that well with your sound, is it? How's your sound, Roberto?
hey. Okay,
Okay, we heard that. I think you're going to need to just send us an email with an update because your sound is not functioning right now. So send us an email with an update from Climate Smart and we will take a look at that.
Have an update kind of related.
Okay.
I don't know if it belongs here, but the Ulster County Climate Smart is planning a sustainability education expo at the Ulster County Fair. There was one last year. They're planning last year, but they only had like a month in advance to plan. This year they started like a month ago. I just attended their meeting last Friday, so they have a Climate Smart booth, and they actually had a Climate Smart, I don't know what community, get created because somebody went to the fair, visited the booth, and really wanted to start one in their community. So it's an educational booth. Serena tabled last time from the Kingston Climate Smart, but if you want to join their planning meetings, they're bi-weekly. You can contact Kim Mayer. I'll paste her info, her email in the chat, so you can get on that list for the planning meetings. Otherwise, I can update everybody when it gets closer to August on who from Kingston would want to help staff or volunteer at that table.
Awesome. They don't have a date yet for the fair, do they?
They do. And vendors are already signing up now because COVID's numbers are better and there's like a race for tables. It is August 2nd to 7th.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. Are there any other events or updates or announcements that people would like to make? Okay. Do we have anything that we're interested in? Oh,
I have a very, very quick one. If people are interested in signing, this letter to Governor Hochul in the legislature, we're trying to, influence the budget, which is getting finalized in the next week, to include some key building decarbonization policies. So if you click on that link I put in the chat, you can very easily send a message, and that would be much appreciated.
okay. Any other announcements or events? Anything that we're posting on social media at this time? If we haven't done a save the date yet, oh wait, did we do a save the date for the Earth Fair yet?
We created the Parks and Recreation Facebook page, created the event. And I posted a call for vendors on Parks and Recreation Facebook page. I don't think anybody responded to it from the Facebook because I didn't get any, but
I didn't see that. I'll reshare it though.
okay.
I was looking out for that save the date to reshare on Climate Smart. I'll go searching.
It's like half save the date, half like sign up to be a vendor.
Yeah, if we could use our posts to push for vendors. I see a couple suggestions from Cal also in the chat. The Repair Cafe rummage sale and the farmers market tabling date, which I wouldn't post yet until we confirm with the farmers market. And then the bike friendly Kingston info, but definitely for a call for vendors would be really great. So Ellie or so Melissa, you can get that information from Ellie or whatever.
Yeah, it's on the Kingston Parks and Recreation Facebook page is the post. You can share this one or write a new one, whatever you want to do. But the event is on Kingston Parks and Rec.
Awesome. Okay. I want to make sure that we have quorum for the 27th. That's our next Climate Smart meeting. Are there enough folks here that are going to be there?
And this is in person, right?
This is in person or remote if you want to be remote. Okay, so that's one person that can't make it. There are other folks that can't make it. I know not everyone's here.
I should be able to be there.
Anyone else have issues with attending? April 27th. In person at City Hall or remote? So not hearing anything, I'm going to assume that folks are going to be there.
Might be a little late.
Okay.
I'll likely be at the New York Geothermal Conference.
Ooh, that's cool.
Forgot about that. Oh yeah, I'm probably gonna be at that too. I forgot about fun in-person events, although I haven't registered yet, but
Is that's in person, not in Kingston, obviously.
it's in like outside of Albany. Are they doing it in
Albany.
Oh, it's in Albany again?
If you registered for 2020, since everything was canceled, your registration will roll over to this time, since they would done it the last 2 years.
So then it's probably pretty reasonable to think that you would not be at the meeting, either of you. Because you're not gonna leave Albany by
It would be
4.
remote. But I'm not sure how late it goes. You know, there's like the keynote speakers and stuff that kind of happen in the evening.
Okay. Do you think we should?
Yeah,
be
I'm not
looking
sure. I
at-
have to get back to you. I'm not like 100% sure I'm gonna go or not.
All right. I mean, are people
Sorry.
feeling like, what happened to Roberto? You lost him? Do you think that we should be changing the meeting? So we don't know about Karen. Cal said yes. Dan saying not necessarily.
Probably not.
Probably
If
not.
they
Roberto's saying
step away from
not
the-
here. Serena don't know. Maya just texted or emailed. She said she couldn't make it tonight, but she is gonna be the next one. Kevin, you're a yes?
Yeah.
Melissa's a no, and Bet is a question mark.
Hmm.
So we need 5 people to attend for quorum. So if Kevin's a yes, Cal is a yes. That's 2 confirmed yeses so far. It's like so not 5.
I think you got to take it to the email.
Okay, I'll go to
Yeah.
email.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Is there any other business?
Get your kombucha for me? Go get your cup. I got this.
Any other business?
No, I move to adjourn.
Can I get a second?
Okay, second.
Kevin? I'm sorry, I got confused for a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, 7:07. Thank you so much, everyone. This meeting is adjourned. Happy spring. See you all soon.
Happy spring. Thanks so much. Take care.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.